I was enchanted with the fact that it was set in 1994. The soundtrack that you're dealing with, the cars that you get to play with.
This is Brooklyn, 1990s. I was born in the 90s, so I'm excited.
I was raised in the 90s. Everything that I really put into the film was just stuff that was very specific to how I grew up. We paid homage to that era by allowing the music and the people and the vibrancy of colors, all that stuff sort of come into play.
The youth today, they're very aware of 94. So there's so much like retro images online now. I was just Googling everything that I could.
Granted, I was just an itty-bitty pup in the 90s, but I still remember that vibe. I still remember the pulse.
I like that. I like it a lot.
Right in the opening of the film, he's working on a cable box and he's trying to burn it to get illegal cable.
Show me the money, show me the money.
And the movie Juice pops up on the screen, which is a classic of the 90s, you know, and it has Tupac Shakur and Omar Epps in it. So you're instantly just drawn into that era right off the rip as soon as the movie starts by using sort of the pop culture at the time.
After a conference with Simpsons attorney Howard Weitzman,
this movie and Bumblebee both were basically flashbacks. I mean, the other movies took place when they shot in the 2000s. Bumblebee was in 1987. This movie's in 1994. It gave us the opportunity for a whole new array of music and fashion and the look of New York in that period.
We went to New York to do a little mini scout, and we realized that New York doesn't even look like New York in 1990s, right? So we had to also dress New York to look like New York, but in the 90s era, and that went from everything on the production side and even visual effects.
There was a great deal of investment just digging deep into what New York is now and what New York was, and every building mattered. You know, the ones that are no longer there that we needed to put back in, but also the ones that have been built over or that, you know, are new structures, you know, because there's a lot of architecture and a lot of change that's happened in the last 25 years.
you say that like it's weird.
It's super weird.
You know what's weird? Marky Mark is leaving the Funky Bunch.
Well, it was important for Steven to have real ads, like real products that fill the background. Taxi cabs and buses and posters from movies were something that was fun to, you know, find. Paramount was super cooperative with that. That was great. It does give you a good sense of when this was happening.
Life ain't a comic book.
You get the next one.
Yo, there is no next one. No one's coming to save us. We're alone in this.
In New York in the 90s, subway cars, you know, were covered with this graffiti. It's really like something you don't see anymore. So we had an artist create graffiti for us, and then our painters were like, to begin with, replicating those on the sets. And after a while, they were like so good at it, they were just going and tagging along, and they became our own graffiti team.
Hey, yo, Chris, what I tell you about letting your mans come out the crib looking like a whole square?
Only so much I could do.
Noah's Alley was a giant one, so we had quite a bit of prep there. To make it so run down, there wasn't any wanting to make it look creepy or want to make it look sad, or it wasn't that at all. Like, Steven really wanted just to embrace the fact that people, you know, were living outside in the streets, and it was part of their world. And he was quite precise on what he wanted there, and he had a lot of references when we came in the project. We had a bunch of images that were sent to us from Steven directly of like things he wanted from his childhood.
I was born in the 80s and I was raised in the 90s. And so literally everything in the film is stuff from my childhood growing up. Everything from the posters on the wall, the type of music we're playing.
You got a Robin mixtape? I got a liberating mixtape.
The clothes that Noah and Chris are wearing, like legit are clothes that you would probably find in my child pictures when I was a young kid.
Steven, when he first got the call that he was going to do this project, he let me know it was going to be about 1994 in New York. Instantly, I'm like, oh, well, no wonder Steven's working on this. It's Transformers, but it's also a little something different that we might not have seen, like going into Brooklyn in that time period.
Fashion was like a huge piece of this thing, because we didn't want to go overboard. Neither did we want to be cliche. We wanted to be as real and grounded as possible, but also just take you down memory lane.
For Dom's introduction look, we wanted to go with what would be the most 90s silhouette you can think of.
Intern. I paged you 3 times. Why didn't you call me?
I figured if I stopped the call, that would make me later.
She's really book smart, so we thought that suspenders would be the best vibe for that. At first, Steven was against the suspenders. He thought it would feel a little forced for the 90s. But once he saw it on her, it was just like, oh, this is a no-brainer.
Who are you?
I'm the janitor.
For Noah's look, there's no point where we wanted anyone to feel like they're just looking at the clothes and not the person.
Here, I ironed this for you.
I already ironed it.
Like you cooked those eggs?
So we definitely dialed back on the bagginess. We couldn't go too crazy with that. But we do have a starter jacket that we're really excited about. That starter was super helpful in bringing that to life with us. We created it from scratch. We made it here in Montreal.
When doing research for the film, a lot of it was just pulling from, again, my upbringing, even Anthony's, Dom's. We were all sort of born around that same age. We're in the same age group. So we just talked about what was really popular during that time and what was specific to this culture, you know, especially the urban culture. And I think it really came out really well, you know, in terms of us capturing the 90s.
There you go. Now we're friends.